Hello everyone, this is Ashish and welcome back to Momentum Podcast. Today we are having Parth Vijayvergiya over here with us. He has done his masters from US and he is having his own YouTube channel where he guides extensively when it comes to how to go and study abroad, specifically a lot of Indian followers that he is having over here. I'm very happy that he is here. I just dropped a mail, not expecting a response, but I did get a response. So I'm very happy that he's finally here. Parth, welcome to the Momentum Podcast.
Thanks a lot, Ashish. I really appreciate it. It's always to be the guest on a podcast, because I'm always the host, so it feels nicer to be on the other side of the bench.
It must be fun. You don't have to deal with the editing, posting, nothing.
I know, right? It doesn't happen a lot.
All right, great. But this time it is going to happen. Today we are going to talk about majorly exams that you need to prepare for: GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, and some other examinations which might be important. He has been guiding students for the last 3-4 years, so he has great experience. He knows what the general questions will be, and he himself has done masters in civil engineering. What was the more specified branch? Was it structural or something?
So I did my undergrad in civil engineering, but my master's was under construction management.
Construction management.
Yeah. So there are like 5 disciplines of civil engineering. Construction management is one of them. Structural is one. Geotechnical is one. Water engineering is one. Construction management is like you're into construction as well, you're into management as well, and you're getting the best of both the worlds.
Yeah. He graduated in civil engineering in 2016, got his master's in 2019, and currently having a job as a construction engineer in DPR Constructions. That is great. So he can perfectly guide you guys, especially if it is about civil engineering. He can give a lot of information about which we might touch up at the end. We had Jaspal Singh sir over here who guided basically civil engineering people when it comes to government jobs. Now he would be a perfect person to guide it when it comes to doing MS abroad. But we are going to start with what are the common examinations that most people need to appear in and what might be a good approach. All right, Parth. So if you have to name couple of examinations most important to do MS in US, what will you say?
I think like if you want to start off, you need to figure out if you want to do a management program or if you want to do an engineering program. And it's just not engineering. If you want to do a science, technology, engineering and math program, that's STEM. If you want to do a STEM course, you would have to take GRE, that is the graduate record examination. And if you want to do a MBA, and some of the management programs take GMAT as well. Now, I haven't personally taken GMAT, and like my funda of all the things on my YouTube channel is like, I'm going to preach what I've done myself. I've taken my GRE and, I've taken my TOEFL. TOEFL and IELTS is an additional exam to GRE and GMAT, which you have to give to show the university that you can speak, write, talk, and understand in English.
And basic aptitude.
Not even basic aptitude. It's just an English exam. If it comes to TOEFL and IELTS, I think they put together that course because initially when they were getting a lot of people from Asian countries, they were having difficulties maintaining that standard of education, just the communication part of it, and they put together TOEFL. It's a test of English language. That is TOEFL. Test of English as a foreign language. That is TOEFL. And then IELTS is also an English language exam, but that's more for Canada and Australia if you want to go there.
All right. So when it comes to doing MS abroad, we're basically going to stick to engineering field because that is where we are going to stick to. That is most of the audience over here. So yes, GRE exam will be very, very necessary when it comes to United States, right? Most of the college will be asking you that score, and it is something that separates a lot of applications as well in the top stage or the first level of separation, right?
That's a good point. That first level of separation is the you hit the nail right at the point. So the US application procedure is a very holistic approach. like how we have IITs, or exams, right? Like it's all about your marks, how much you scored, what rank you got. The better marks you get, the better course or better university you'll get. Whereas in the US it's completely different. In US, like even if you want to do an undergrad degree here, you have to have a overall profile which is great, like you doing a podcast and you taking lectures for improving other people's communication skill. That is a very essential part of you as a human. So they just don't look at your scores, they look at that as well in your application. So US admission procedure is a very holistic approach. They take a holistic approach. GRE and GMAT is like the first filtration criteria. Think about it. You have 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 applications, and you need to reduce it down to 200. And usually if you have to pick up students, somebody with a score of 320 plus would fit right into the university because of their exam taking capabilities and miscellaneous other factors, just that aptitude test which you mentioned. So they take 320 plus students and then they find out a cohort of 200 people, and then they're going to dive deep in that 200 applications and look for other factors as well.
All right. So GRE is certainly a very important part of it, but it is a part. There's another part that is shortlisting your colleges. That is also very important, right? Which colleges you are going to apply. So can you put some light that what percentage of time should be going on in shortlisting of colleges and what percentage of time should be going on when preparing for or focusing towards GRE preparation?
Absolutely. So see, Ashish, like your a usual college fees in the US is like at least $30,000-$40,000 if you're coming for your master's. 40,000 if you're spending like $40,000 on anything, that's 28 to 30 lakhs. If you're spending that much of your education for 2 years, you have to put in that effort that, okay, if I need to figure out where do I spend this money, I should get the best product out of it. So shortlisting of universities is a very, very essential process. There's no easy way to do it. There's no way that you can go to like an Excel sheet or you can put your data in and it will give you everything, because there is more factors to it. There are people who look for scholarships as well. Now, when I talk about scholarships, I'm talking about some of the universities give out jobs to students. In those jobs, I could be an instructor to a course and I could be helping the professor in teaching the course. I could be grading the homeworks, I could grading the assignments, and then in return of that, I would get like a small amount of stipend, which is like $1,800. I say that's a big amount of money when you come to India.
Per month or per annum?
Per month, $1,800, $2,000. But when it comes to the US, that's not significantly much, because like right now my apartment rent is like $1,100, right? So that, and it's a small city. If you go to New York, your apartment rent could be upwards of $2,000. So you're getting that per month and your fees gets waived off. That's a bigger win. So you have to figure out like which universities have assistantship. But my basic route to how to shortlist university is like, hey, pick up 10-15 universities of the course you want to go for, first of all. Okay, pick up the top 50, top 30 universities. Then look at like, okay, I know that I can't get into MIT or Harvard with my scores, with my GPA, with the backlog I might have, but I can get into this 10 to 20 or 30 ranked universities. Then I'll start looking at their courses. I'll start looking at the professors. I'll start talking to the seniors like, hey, I'm planning to come to the university. What do you think? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? And then if I'm a tech person, I would like to go to the Bay Area because the opportunities are more. Whereas if I am a construction person, for example, I would like to go to Texas or New York. Just the opportunities are more there. But location is one thing, and then branding is another thing. University branding here, it's so crazy. Like even if I meet someone halfway across the world who went to Purdue, that person is going to come and have a drink with me just because we went to the same school.
I did go through one of your video in which you started in a most tremendously amazing manner. You started by giving an example. I think it was Coke or Pepsi, something like that. Just kept me hooked, and you were explaining the importance of brand and how the place where the college is not that important. Correct?
It absolutely. Like if you think about Princeton, Princeton is an Ivy League school, and Princeton, like I mentioned school a lot of times because that's the lingo people use here. School is equals to the university, but Princeton, it's in like a very small town in New Jersey. So, and there's nothing around that town. It's just it's a university town. And now if you think about Princeton has like some extremely notable alumni, and it produces the best and the brightest minds who works in the US workforce. So Princeton is one, Purdue is one, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign would be one. And there's a bunch of other universities like those which are just in the middle of nowhere, but the brand value is so strong and the alumni network is so strong that you end up with a job, end up with great resources regardless. Yeah.
So let us say that I'm a very fresh person over here when it comes to preparing for MS abroad, maybe a newbie, maybe in second year, maybe I just graduated. How does the whole process start, and what would you say is a timeline? Like, will it take 2 months, 6 months, 1 year? How does it go?
I think it's exactly like how an academic year goes by. You start in fall, preparing in August, and then it keeps going on until your visa interview in July, June, and then you fly out in August. So it's exactly a 1 year long process. Sometimes it even takes 1.5 years if you want to prepare more. So if you are in third year, like I'm going to give an example of somebody who's about to graduate, and so let's say the person is in third year and there is a summer ahead of him. He finished his third year, there's a summer ahead of him. He should start preparing for his GRE first of all.
Yeah.
Don't worry about TOEFL. We have been taught English since our childhood, so our English is fine. But focus on GRE. GRE is not difficult at all, but it's just the English which kind of hits people really hard because the words, the vocab which you use, it's way different than what you use in regular. Like American people don't use that kind of words in day to day, but they just know. You start preparing. You prepare for like 3 months or so for GRE. Take a few mock tests. There's a lot of free mock tests available online. You take those mock tests. You see how much you're scoring. A good score would be around 325 and plus. 320 and plus is also good. Don't aim for like 330 plus unless you're going to like Harvard or MIT just because you want to stand out. So you want the best out of all of it. Yeah. But I've seen people getting less than 310 score and getting much better universities.
Yeah, you are the best example for that.
Yeah, I scored a 313 and I got into Purdue, and in the same program there were people who scored 330, 333 and I'm like, yeah, I scored that much and I got into best schools and I got into all of the colleges I applied to. I applied to 8 universities, got into all 8 universities. So
what do you think separated you even with a low GRE
I think
score?
The overall profile really separated me. First, I had an exchange program in Sweden that separated me. My letter of recommendation separated me. My letter of recommendations, one was from a professor from UT Austin, one was from Kyoto University, and one was from professor from a Swedish university. So that kind of stood me out. And then I had a backlog in my first year. I had like a GPA of 2.4 and I studied a lot and brought my GPA up to 3.23, and I highlighted that, like how I did that and why my GPA was low in first year.
Your SOP? Is it?
Yeah, in my statement of purpose, yeah. And that kind of stood out. So again, a holistic approach, just one thing doesn't matter. All of it comes together.
So a fresh student who is in third year, let us take a certain example, who is going to join 1 year later. Now he starts preparing for GRE. Would that be the first step? and simultaneously also start segregating the college. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
Prepare for GRE, start segregating the university, start talking to people who went before you, start there are a bunch of Facebook groups which you can join where there's a lot of discussion going on about this.
So let us directly get into the GRE examination. So how should the whole preparation start?
Okay. So GRE is into 3 parts. One is AWA, that's analytical writing part. Second is maths, and third is English. I think people should focus on English first because that's one of our weak subjects. Maths, we can really hit the nail on it. Maths, it's easy to get 163 out of 170. 160 out of 170. It's really easy to get 160 plus. English is the problem. So there's a book by Norman Lewis called Word Power Made Easy.
Easy, yeah. Very cheap book actually.
It's like 140 rupees book. It's one of the best books. Even if you're in third year, starting your third year, and if you want to get into GRE and TOEFL, start just practicing with that. Then just focus on, there are 2 books which are from ETS. ETS is the examination authority, the organization who takes the exams, who organizes these exams. There are 2 books. You should start reading through that book. For English, you should just focus on the ETS GRE books. For English, Word Power Made Easy and ETS GRE books.
Alright.
And
so
then for
ETS book number 1 is for English, the second is for quant, is it?
Both are for English and quant.
Alright.
It's mixed, but
Okay.
the English is enough for you to just go through that and get an understanding what they're trying to ask.
Alright.
So GRE English is also 3 to 4 parts, where one is comprehensive paragraph, how we used to read a paragraph and answer some questions, and it's MCQ, so you have to just select, but to select the correct answer, it also is really tricky sometimes. One type of question would be fill in the blanks, and in the blank you will have 2 words with the same meaning, so you have to know the meaning of those words, or you have to eliminate the words which doesn't make sense. So elimination also works really well. But for your English, you should focus on the 2 ETS book, Norman Lewis's Word Power Made Easy, and for your
the 2 books by ETS.
Yes, 2 books by ETS, and for your maths, there is a Manhattan 5 LB. It's just Manhattan 5 pound, and you should use that book. And just a quick tip, a quick secret, insider secret, that you don't really even have to buy this book. If you look up this book and search PDF, you'll be able to find it. It's that common and that easy to find. So even if you just focus on these books, you'll be able to score good. What happens?
All we need is 5 books, no, 4 books.
4 books. People get overwhelmed, I need this resource, that resource.
They even buy courses online, right?
Exactly. And there is no point. There is a guy named, it's actually not a guy, it's just one guy who is selling his courses for really cheap. It's only $5 a month. But
I think I know who you're talking about.
GRE GMAT. It's just, that's not, his name is not even Greg, it's just GRE GMAT.
Okay.
And it's pre-recorded lectures, so you can watch it. $5 is 350 rupees. It's not as much. Yeah,
that is great.
So you start with that, and then you take a mock test, and you figure out how much under the water you are, and then you improve what you lagged into, what you scored bad on. Okay,
that's it then. We have to focus on these books, and basically, when it comes to the quant of GRE, I think that. So I came from GATE background, so there's always concept attached. Even the aptitude will be having dice questions, speed, time, distance questions. So you'll have to probability questions. So you'll have to understand. It's not even
that difficult.
Yeah.
GATE is more
over
difficult.
So over here it is basically practice it, get a hold of it, get fast in the things that you most likely already know. Am I correct?
It's the speed which matters. It's the speed and matters. The accuracy matters.
Accuracy.
A lot of times people kind of just ponder over one question for a long time, and they lose the time because you have to answer 20 questions in 35 minutes or so. And if you're not getting through the questions quickly, you'll not be able to make it. So best thing is, if you're not able to figure out a question, move on, do the second question. Speed and accuracy matters, and elimination is really important. Sometimes you can see the options and some options wouldn't make sense.
Okay. Do we have a problem of wrong questions over here? Because that's a problem with CAT. We have a little bit problem of GATE. Do we see any wrong questions in examination?
If there's a wrong question, they'll just give you the marks for it.
All right. But sometimes people may waste a lot of time in wrong question, right?
The chances of doing that or that happening is really low. Again,
All
it's
right.
like a worldwide exam. There's like thousands and thousands of dollars, like hundreds and thousands of dollars invested into it. So
it's really costly as well.
Yeah. So what they do is like they kind of recycle the questions a lot of times. So it's, if you give mock tests, that'll help you a lot to figure out what kind of questions.
Oh, do we get previous year questions of GRE?
Yeah. That's the mock test. Like those will be previous year GRE questions. So GRE is funny because there are 4 sections, but what they do is like this in a sly manner, they insert one more section, which is the 5th section, and then don't count marks of that. But you don't know which section it's going to be. So you have to put in all the effort as much as you're going to put in.
Pattern of GRE is pretty complicated. We are going to get into that very soon. But as you have said, I now understand completely that why you said that English is going to be the real deciding factor, because the mathematics part is pretty simple for most of the people.
Right.
So English, obviously, those words have to be churned in your head. So how do we work on that? You told about this book. Explain a little bit about this Word Power Made Easy and what this book is all about.
Word Power Made Easy is a really simple English language book. You go through exercises. You go through 1 exercise a day or 2 exercises a day, and they break down the words for you. Like a word is formed by 2 words or 2 Greek words. So they merge those words and explain the meaning to you. And in every exercise, it's been so long that I've looked at a Norman Lewis book because I've been, I haven't prepared for any TOEFL or IELTS recently. But every exercise has the list of words, has some of the examples, has fill in the blanks, has some extra exercises to it. You finish that, you go to the next one, and what they'll do is like they'll include some of the words from the first chapter in the second chapter, in the third chapter, and that way you're getting, how the words are built, and you understand the meaning of the words better. And even if you don't know, if you see a word and you don't know right away, you might be able to crack that word, like, okay, this is something what it might mean. Some people who like, because English is out of like Greek words, right? So if you know how to speak Greek language, it's easier for you to understand Greek words. And it's the same with French. Like a lot of words in French are made out of English words, or it's similar to English, and same in Spanish. So if you understand one language, it's easy to pick up these easy languages as well. And that's what Norman Lewis's book do.
Yeah, and also it gives you, even if you don't know the full word, it gives you kind of an idea, even if you know a part of it. The funny part about this book is that this book was not actually made for GRE, if I'm not wrong. This book was actually published in 1950s. If you go and check out when it was.
Well, I would assume so. I don't know how long ago it was published, but my father used to use this book while he was in college. So it is old, so definitely.
Basically, everyone who wants to improve their vocabulary and all, it will be very, very helpful for them. Right. All right. So is word or vocabulary all that we need, or do we also need grammar?
We don't really need grammar. We need grammar for analytical writing assessment, that section. There is a writing section which is 30 minutes. That's the first section which you have to go through. You have to write two essays. One is like they will give you a situation and you have to write according to that. And one is situational based and one is just your opinion. And I'm not as good as in English, or at least in writing English, right? I still got 3.5. It's easy to score 3.5. You shouldn't score less than 3.5 because then university starts creating problem, because every university has a minimum requirement for GRE, and a 3.5 plus is ideal for you.
Basically, to understand your explanation or understanding the language for that. I don't know properly, but I think that I heard someone saying that this part actually does not finally is included in your final score. Am I correct?
No,
Or-
so it is not like that's basically it's not included in the final score, in a meaning that, okay, that's not out of 340, but it's an essential component as well.
All right.
It's going to be a separate, but they're not like you get a score 315 out of 340, but that doesn't include AWA score. AWA score is out of 6. 5 out of 6 is astounding. 4.5 is great. 3.5 is the minimum you need.
All right. So English is basically all about vocabulary. You should basically focus on that. Great. So we understand the 3 different part of GRE examination. Now I want to get into the pattern of this examination because it is a little bit different. That first section, how much you score, based on that you get the difficulty level of the second section, something like that. Yeah.
So they want you to score good. Eventually, that's the point.
I've heard something like the minimum you can score over there is 160 or something like that. What
260. So 260 out of
260.
340. 260 is just for being present there.
Okay.
Right.
Just for paying some 10,000,
like
15,000 rupees.
Yeah, it's really $200 or something. It's really expensive, and then you have to send scores. You have to spend more money. Yeah, college application is like a mafia as well, in some ways.
Everywhere.
But you pay the return on investment is good, so I would let that go. Like, I remember I have a blog on my website explaining like how much I spent to the pennies for my college applications. Every college application, every score I sent, all the exams I took, and I think it totaled up to like some $1,500 for the whole process. 1 lakh rupees for the whole process or something like that. And it's funny, like that's half or a quarter of the salary you're going to make in the first month once you start your job. So like salaries are really high, and that's the return on investment is high. But the question was that, if a section 1 is going to be easy, section 2 is going to be difficult. If you score more on section 1, section 2 is going to be difficult, and you can't do anything about it. You can't control like, oh, I'm not gonna do good so that I get an easy section. That doesn't work. What you need to you don't need to see all these tactics. You need to focus on how can I speed myself up, how can I tackle more questions, and how can I use the process of elimination to go through this exam quicker. Time is the most essential component here. The faster you go, the better it will be. Don't waste time on single question. Maths is going to be your the most important factor. You score good in your quant, and that's going to help you survive the whole GRE.
All right. Speaking of time, what is the total time interval of this examination?
I think it's like 3.5 hours to 4 hours. It depends on student to student, but a 3.5 hours, it's exhausting. Like in one sitting, you have like 3.5 hours to 4 hours. You're just sitting there and taking the exam.
Basically divided into 3 parts. Number 1, essay.
Yeah.
Second, you have to go into quants. Third, it would be mainly English.
Yeah.
So
it's
is it
essay,
that we can pick?
It's essay. And then it depends on you, and it's like person to person, that you might get 3 quant or 2 verbal, or you might get 3 verbal and 2 quant. So 2 maths and quantitative. So 2 maths and 3 verbal.
2 different sets, is it?
Yeah. So this is how the exam is. 1 hour is AWA, then 35 minutes for your first section, then 35 minutes for second section, 35 minutes for third section, 35 minutes for fourth section, 35 minutes for fifth section. And it could switch up. Like it could be English, maths, English, maths, English. It could be maths, English, maths, English, maths.
All right. So it is like completely on luck. So you are getting,
it's really up
if
to
I'm
you.
weak in maths and I get 3 maths, then what to do?
Well,
Right.
well, one section is not going to be counted, but you don't know
All
which
right.
section. It is a
Oh, all
tricky
right.
exam for sure, but
Yeah. It's very complicated system they have. Like even the time is not fixed, what to say.
yeah, it is.
All-
It gets exhausting. Like I think the brain stops
Hmm.
working after the first hour for sure, but
Hmm.
you just have to
Hmm.
keep at it. And I
All
think
right.
you're not even allowed drinking
Mhm.
water. You can't have water bottles in.
What?
So
What kind of rule is that?
you get a break after 2 hours, and you can drink something during that time. But
All right.
it is a little complicated for sure.
Okay, great. So that's all about
Mhm.
GRE examination. Simultaneously, obviously, keep on looking for the university. I've had other people over here as well. Anand basically talked about doing masters in Europe, and what he said that don't go to this counseling and all. Find out your university yourself, because this is your career. You need to find out where you want to be. So put a good amount of work over there. The problem with we Indian students is that you might be knowing as well, because you grew up over here, that we want most of the things spoon fed. The syllabus tell me, the place tell me, everything you tell me, right? But when it comes to MS abroad, you'll have to do your proper research in all the colleges. So.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Like how we say, "Oh, we have been spoon fed." Yeah, we have been spoon fed, and there's a reason for it. And the how the industry works as well, like why Indians are doing so well in the software industry or in the outsourcing industries, because you give a task to to Indian folks and they'll be able to do it. If there's no critical thinking or analytical thinking to that, then it's really easy to do it. Like right now, I'm running this you're running this YouTube channel. I'm doing a full-time job as well. I find my full-time job extremely easy. Like there is some challenges, of course, with the construction industry, but it's so easy because I have like these external pressures on me that makes me do the work. It's like,
Yeah.
psh, do this work.
You have a
do this work.
boss. You are told what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I'm told what to do, it's gonna be easy. Doesn't matter how difficult that task is, it is doable.
Yeah.
And I
there's
have
always someone
somebody
above you.
sitting on me, like telling me like, oh, this is how you can do. There's a set path out of it. But as soon as it comes to something different, like, how do I start a YouTube channel? How do I look at these videos? How do I make these videos? How do I make them more presentable?
No set path over there.
No set path over there. Even though there are a set path now in some ways,
No.
it's still challenging because you have to push yourself.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get to push yourself, then that's where the problem occurs. That's where
Initiatives, right? You have to
people
take them.
start having troubles. And that's what US teaches you, to take initiatives too. Because my project manager right now, he started working part-time. Like he's used to clean in a church and in schools and do summer jobs when he was 14 years old. And there's no concept of like that in India. So there's...
Yes, we really look at different jobs differently. And
we
do
look down
at,
upon some of the jobs like that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, those jobs need more hard work, needs you to stand under sun, and maybe more effort. And that is what I've seen in US. Like a lot of my friends who are doing masters over there, they drive cabs and all, no issues, just to get money. That's it. And they are paid well as well.
I used to work in a sandwich shop for like 2-3 months before, I had to get my SSN, and it was difficult initially. And I found it like these guys like who works in the restaurants, those guys work really hard because they're on their feet all day and they have to be quick. And if you don't give a customer great service, because US industry is all about customer service. If I tell like the return policies are crazy. I could return an item for up to 90 days. I used a blanket recently. I used it for like 2 months. I realized it was really hot and I can't use it anymore, and I think I need to return it. I returned it. They didn't ask me a question. So customer is the king, and that takes a lot of effort to serve that king when it comes to restaurants and cafes and those kind of jobs.
There's a minimum wage thing also over there. That is also very well regularized.
So you make like depends on the state. In New York, you could make up to like $15 in minimum wage per hour.
per hour.
So, and in states like Indiana, Illinois, where minimum wage is less, I think the least you could make is like $7.25 per hour.
Yeah. And apart from that, you explained how you earned somewhere around 23,000. What was that? It was crazy number that you earned while you were.
In a way, I like that was almost a clickbait title. I didn't earn it. I saved it in my fees.
All right.
That was my estimated fees. But what I did was I took a lot of credits. You could finish your credits. So if it's a 2-year course, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it in 2 years. You could finish early. You could take a lot of credits, and you could even finish your course in a year. That's possible as well. So if I would have finished it in a year, I would have saved additional $7,000. But I finished it in 1.5 years, took less credits in a semester, and that's how I saved my last semester fees plus an additional amount in my third semester. So that equates to $23,000.
All right, that is great. Your student loan is all paid?
It is not still paid. I'm still paying it off, and I'm on track.
How long do you think it will take to finish
I think by the end of the year it should be done. I have estimated that.
Close to like
2 years.
2 years after you graduated.
Exactly 2 years.
Got the masters.
Yep.
That is great.
I've seen. So again, I work in the construction industry. Construction industries on average salaries are comparatively lower to CS people. I've known people, personally known people who have paid $60,000 within a year to pay off their loan. So they're probably making like upwards of $140,000 a year, and they just paid it off. They're like, I'm getting.
And it's not like you are living a miserable life. It is good life, paid simultaneously. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm living a really comfortable life. Even the students who paid $60,000, they were also living a comfortable life because it's not really expensive to maintain that bottom standard of living. Because like, what do you need for living, right? Like, you need your laptop, you need a bed, you need a table, and all of these things. Like, I think everything, all of these like startup cost would be under $300, and that's 2 days wage or 3 days wage when it comes to US salaries.
All right, great. So when it comes to loans, what are the methods of taking loan for doing MS abroad?
So there are a couple of ways, of course, like there are international lenders, and then there are nationalized banks. So SBI is one, HDFC Credila is one, and then international lenders, Prodigy Finance is one. I think these three are like my main go-to if I had to recommend someone. SBI is great for return of interest rate, because SBI gives an interest rate of around 9%. Prodigy Finance is great if you don't have any co-signer, because you need a co-signer for that big of amount of a loan. And HDFC Credila is great if you have a co-signer but you want to go with an Indian bank. They'll give you a higher interest rate, but again, like let's say you get an 11% interest rate, your aim should be to save as much as you can and then pay off your loan as quickly as possible. But
all right,
like even in my case, being a construction guy and making the lower end of making the lower end of the spectrum of the salaries, because CS people make the most, and the data analyst and and then other fields. So you could easily be paying off your loan within like 2 to 3 years maximum.
All right, great. But what do you say about this, that there is no surety of job after you do your masters?
I'll tell you one thing, like there is no surety in India as well right now. Like,
so masters in India has stipend system so far, and if you're getting into masters, basically you can live on your own. So what is the placement scenario over there? How bad can it get in the worst case scenario, let us say of recession or of COVID, what we are having right now?
So the worst case scenario has happened to someone like a friend of mine, a brother of my friend. It has happened to him last year only. What had happened was he did that course for 2 years. And while he was applying for his OPT visa, that's a visa type, and you have to fill a form and you have to apply for it. That's like your work permit which you get, and it's a very simple form, and now they have made it online. They have made it much easier as it compared to before, where you had to send in a letter. So you apply for that, and in his case, it got rejected for some reason. So it got rejected because apparently he missed a document or something. And if you miss a document, and he got rejected, that was the first thing. Second, he got the rejection notice after the deadline where he could apply again. So he got really, really messed up. Now he had to go back to India during that time, but he's trying to get back into the US. There are ways where you can get back. You can do day one CPT and all of these things. But the worst case scenario is your visa gets rejected and you have to go back.
All right.
But that's 1% of, like 1%, not even 1% of 100. It's 1% of 10,000 people. It's that less of a chance. So it's like 1 or 2, 3% out of 10,000 people. So the chances are low, but if you look at like the 9,997 people who are getting a job, who are getting good opportunities, it is difficult to get a job in the US. Again, if you don't have experience, it's going to be more difficult for you, but it's not impossible. Everybody's really helpful. Your professors are going to be helpful. Your university set up career fair. It's not like college placement where you can go and sit in interviews. You'll have to do the groundwork. You'll have to send your resumes to the company. The reason why I've been making all these videos all these years, because I found out like, hey, it was so difficult for me to get a job, and I found it difficult or challenging even with some experience I had. I don't want other people to have that. And a lot
experience, meaning which experience?
So I had some internships before coming to the US.
Okay.
And every of my internships is a talking point. Every of my project is a talking point when it comes to the recruiter and when I go to the career fair and meeting people, right? So if people don't have experience, that's where they have some issues. But I've seen people with zero experience getting into companies like Apple because their college projects were good. The way they talk, the way they present themselves are good.
All right. So mostly it is safe to say that you are for taking the risk of a loan if you're working very hard. Obviously, that hard work part, let's not miss out. You'll have to get in for the struggle. And if you do that, it is a good investment. Yeah,
there is a lot of test cases which can ensure you that it is a good case. I've seen so many examples where people came from, really hard conditions, have made their life here. I've just seen like people can't even communicate that well, and I've seen people like because of their hard work and now they're working and now they're making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year salary. They have paid their loans off, they're making investments, they're sending money home, and their life's like changing. That generational change is coming. So that's what you get when you're coming across.
All right. Great. Let us get into that. We have discussed one part. You are not in a hurry, right? Because
no.
It has already been around an hour. So I just want to touch up in one topic which is very connected to what we are discussing right now. Loans are one thing. What about scholarship? How much we can expect to get scholarship, or how viable it is? How many people I think would be getting? That is what I'm asking.
So it depends on which university you get. If it's a very famous university, sometimes they won't offer any scholarship. Sometimes I have told people that, hey, if you're getting a scholarship in a university which is equivalent to the top university, it will be better for you to go into the university where there are less Indian students and when they're like a smaller batch size. A master's student is capable enough to help a professor out in teaching a course. And when you're teaching a course, when you're helping out a professor, the universities are going to pay you. First of all, your fees will be waived off completely, and they will be paying you $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the location, a fixed stipend, just as it is happening in IITs or NITs when you take GATE. Exactly like that. Now, in that $2,000, you will be living comfortably. You will be able to pay your rent. You will be able to get your food. You will be able to save enough money for one-time travel to India. and you will be able to save enough to also travel with your friends on budget. But the main factor is that you don't have to pay fees.
Yeah.
That is the main
That
factor.
is the biggest one.
That is the biggest one. Like imagine saving $30,000-$40,000 a year in fees. That's the biggest factor.
It's like you earned it. Right? Plus getting a degree.
Exactly. The way to getting the scholarships is getting and reaching out to the professors and telling them like, these are my skills. These are the courses I took in my undergrad. This is how I can be beneficial to you. Let me be your assistant. They might
just dropping a mail.
Dropping
like
an email. There are some universities where there's like more set process, where there are websites where you can see what kind of positions are opened up. And it doesn't matter if you're a computer person or you're a civil person. A civil person can still teach Calculus 1 to undergrad students. So I could be teaching Calculus 1 and I feel bad because I didn't take the opportunities. I could have done that.
A lot of my friends actually, when they went to masters, they said that, man, I wasted so much money because I had lack of information. If I knew this, I could have saved a lot of money.
Exactly. And perfect example is like my fiance. She goes to University of Arizona, and after her first semester, she paid for her first semester, but her second semester she was able to get assistantship. So her fees was $18,000. So she was able to save that right away, and she get into PhD program, and now she's like getting paid.
Once you get in over there, enroll for the course. After that, also you can go for the scholarship because I heard that that would not be possible.
You could get that scholarship after a year also into the program. It really depends on the professor. It really depends on the connections you build. It depends on if the positions opened up.
Okay, so you basically have to find out the professors, maybe working in the field that you have some experience or interest in, mail them. If they accept you, that will be great. When it comes to Europe, there are few organizations like Invest in Italy and all that takes care of everything. They pay you humongous amount of money as well. Are there such organizations in states as well?
Absolutely. It's just that the competition is a little bit in Europe. I know
what are they?
Erasmus Mundus is there. So there's one this JN Tata scholarship. So they will give out you a loan with 0% interest rate.
All right.
So it's basically lending money. You just pay that money back. It's a great program. You can do that. There are bunch of other scholarships. I'm not able to recall that on the top of my head, but I can send you the links afterwards, and I'm going we can link that in the description. You can check it out. Again, it's just that the competition is so high when it comes to these like specific scholarship and not assistantship, that
you have to have very striking profile, right?
Very striking profile. I know a person who went to Brown University with like full scholarship in his undergrad, but he was like the one student picked out of the whole country.
What makes them different, like feathers in the cap that they have?
Well, his background, background, like he was from Bihar. He was like the one student out of his old school who was even applying to the US.
All right.
It's like these like small factors. Of course, if you're from a wealthy background, you might not be able to get scholarship because they don't they think like you can pay the fees off. So why should we give scholarship to you? If you're coming from a poor background or a poor family or a middle class family, and you show them the hardships you have went through with your family, and you explain it to them, like why do you want to apply to this scholarship, like the reason why you need this money to succeed, and what you have shown in your undergrad, like you have shown promise in your undergrad that you will be able to perform. That's how they qualify that, okay, this person, if he gets a scholarship, his life would be changed, his whole family's life would be changed, and their family's life would be changed. So they want to create the biggest impact they could.
Again, something that you'll have to depict in your SOP. Am I correct?
SOP, statement of purpose, and your letter of recommendations is really important as well.
Yes. So tell me, while we are preparing for GRE and shortlisting the colleges, at that time only we'll be focusing on SOP or later? No, that time only, right? Because that's where we will be applying.
You start with a draft. there's a blog on my channel and website as well, where I mentioned like how to get started with that. You start with just writing down everything. You sit down, you get a cup of coffee or tea, and you sit down for like 30-40 minutes, deep work, deep thinking, and you just write down everything you know about yourself. You don't have to put it in a format. You just write it down, like I am this, I'm that, I've done this, I've done this. Every anecdote, every important life experience of yours, doesn't matter if it happened in 11th class, 8th class, or in your 4th year of college. You write that down. Doesn't matter if it's a breakup, it's a hardship with your family, it's a fight with your father. Everything you write it down. You take that document as your like master doc. You take incidents from that master doc, create the structure of a SOP. Like you start, there is a story and there's an ending. This is a very all of the movies, have like they start
header, body, footer.
They have a background, they have the journey and the struggle, and then in the end there's like a climax where they're solving this big overarching problem and they're overcoming that and they're coming out as a new person. That's basically every movie. That's the storyline of a great movie. And that's what you have to impose and implement in your SOPs as well.
Yeah, all right. That is great advice. See, Parth, we can discuss a lot of things over here. So I'm also exploring this kind of domain because you can't only tell people to prepare for PSUs, prepare for GATE, prepare for engineering services when you have not actually highlighted on other opportunities. So my whole channel, its name is kind of weird. Did you ever notice? It says Talk 4712.
Yep.
I did not actually start with, GATE or something like that because I wanted it to be focused towards career. That is what I want. So that is why I brought you and I requested you to be aware so that you can put some light on the other field. I even had once a person who did masters in product design so that the few people who might be interested in that might get some ideas from the people who have pursued that. So maybe next time we can talk about the career of a construction engineer, how you can proceed with that. We can be talking in detail about all these things for civil engineers or architectural engineers in general.
Yeah, civil engineering is such an underrated industry in India. Like if somebody is hearing construction engineer, they think like, oh, I'm on the field all the time, I'm with the workers, I'm with the laborers, with the hard hat. Yeah, like I have hard hats, like I have two of my hard hats right there. I wear that hard hat. I'm proud of wearing that hard hat. But in the US, like construction industry is completely different. I have like all the tools and skill. I have a 360 camera I use to make my projects better. I have an iPad with me. I have a laptop, phone.
Yeah.
They give me a company truck to move around. Like when I'm talking about, it's like a Silverado or a Ford F-150. But like this, the kind of work we do here is the same, but it's more efficient, more in order as compared to in India. And that's all it is.
Okay, so I'd love to sit down with you someday, just know more about that career aspect. We can do it very soon later as well.
Absolutely.
But you shared a lot of things. I learned a lot of things about this whole field. A lot of myths got resolved. I'm sure that the audience of this podcast learned a lot. Maybe some of them want to shape their career in this direction. I'm sure that they now got a better picture about it. Parth is amazing when it comes to making YouTube videos. Please go to his channel. I'm going to link it down below. You are going to find always every video teaching something new over there. It's not the repetition. It's not the same old. He's not trying to just run it for the sake of views and all. He always tries to guide people who are watching it. And that is why when I found him, I said that I have to have him. And that is why we are here. And I'm very happy that we finally did it.
I really, really appreciate those words. Thank you so much. Like quality over quantity, always.
That's a great motto. So, Parth, we are going to do it again. Guys, thank you for listening. We are going to have Parth back again very soon. Some more detailed topic. Momentum is a weekly podcast on careers. Be over here again next week. Matter of fact, twice every week. So, and all the audio versions will be available in all the audio platforms, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, you name it, you're going to get that over there. That's about it. See you next time. Bye, Parth.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great one. Thanks, Ashish, for having me.
All right, always a pleasure. Okay, Parth, how was the experience?
It was great, man. It was great. It was awesome.
Hmm.
I had a lot of fun.
Time passed very fast.
Yeah.
Very comfortable kind of conversation.